Technically, everyone watching this video has more money than me, and their bank account.
The entire MrBeast brand is built around one powerful image. The guy giving money away, funding wells, cleaning oceans, and spending millions to help people. But according to allegations highlighted by Coffeezilla, there's another side of the money story that's raising some seriously uncomfortable questions. We're talking about an NFT-related investment reportedly sold after public promotion, a token connected to his ocean cleanup campaign that was allegedly sold during a charity auction, and another crypto project tied to his name that faced similar concerns. 3 separate cases, with critics pointing to a strangely familiar pattern.
$200,000 worth of these tokens.
And these claims aren't coming from some random account chasing drama. Coffeezilla has built a huge reputation investigating alleged scams, shady financial schemes, and questionable crypto deals across the internet. So let's rewind to where this story really starts. It's 2021. NFT mania is absolutely exploding. People are spending crazy amounts on digital collectibles, and cartoon apes are being pitched as the future of the internet. Right in the middle of that frenzy, MrBeast begins publicly discussing CryptoPunks and putting them on his audience's radar. On its own, that could look like nothing more than a huge creator talking about a trend the whole internet was already chasing. But according to Coffeezilla, something else was happening behind the scenes at the same time. He reported that MrBeast got into the pre-sale of a related project called Super, putting in around $100,000 early, when the project was still barely known outside a smaller crypto crowd. Soon after, millions of super tokens reportedly showed up in his wallet.
Quote, these investments were made and managed in consultation with industry experts to ensure full compliance with all appropriate rules and regulations.
Coffeezilla's concern was about the setup, getting in at a low price before the wider public attention hits, then potentially benefiting once a massive name brings more eyes to the project. That doesn't automatically prove an illegal pump and dump, but it raises a serious question about whether MrBeast's public attention could have helped boost interest in something he already had money riding on. Around $200,000 worth of tokens were reportedly sold off, and the timing is where this story gets seriously interesting, guys. On May 12th, MrBeast replied to a hype post with just one word: super.
Regardless of your intentions, selling tokens within a month of your 2-month charity auction is wrong, stupid, and unethical? Yes, I think that is.
That message went out in front of millions of followers, and according to the transaction timeline highlighted by Coffeezilla, within roughly 72 hours, that batch of tokens had reportedly been liquidated. Now, timing alone doesn't prove MrBeast deliberately ran a pump and dump, but from the outside, the sequence definitely raises eyebrows. Public hype, massive exposure, then a major sell-off shortly afterward. That's exactly why people started asking questions instead of brushing the whole thing off as random timing. And once those questions got louder, his team needed an explanation. The response reportedly centered on one very specific defense, and it's an explanation that would come up again later. Cut through the polished PR talk, and the defense basically comes down to one claim: Jimmy wasn't personally making those trades. His team said the activity was handled through a fund managed by unnamed professional investors, meaning the decisions supposedly weren't being made directly by MrBeast himself. But calling crypto fund managers sophisticated professionals doesn't automatically settle the issue.
In fact, the only reason we know MrBeast was in the pre-sale is that there were several articles about it bragging about that fact. Once again, MrBeast's name was used to promote this instead of the fund itself. And internally to investors, I have to say, this built up a lot of excitement, not just because MrBeast is a huge name, but because XCAD had what's called creator tokens. So the idea to some investors is that, well, if they're investing MrBeast and KSI, what if they were ever to launch creator tokens? That would be massive.
In an industry that's faced plenty of criticism over weak oversight and risky trading, people were naturally going to want receipts. If the fund explanation completely cleared everything up, a few direct questions about who controlled the trades, how decisions were made, and when they happened could have helped shut down the speculation fast. So Coffeezilla reportedly tried to get those answers directly. And that's where things got even more interesting. Then came months of silence, and that only made the questions louder. Silence isn't proof of wrongdoing, but when serious allegations are already flying around, refusing to address them can look a whole lot worse than simply showing the records and clearing things up. There was another complication, though. The wallet at the center of these claims was never publicly confirmed as MrBeast's personal wallet. According to the investigation, it was linked to an account using the name Wu-Tang Clan and connected to crypto figure Jason Williams, who had publicly posted about NFTs, Warren-related merch, and associated his own branding with that wallet. On paper, that creates some distance between MrBeast and the transactions. But Coffeezilla pointed to MrBeast's own previous comments as evidence that the story wasn't so simple. During an older podcast appearance, MrBeast described buying CryptoPunks alongside Logan Paul after Gary Vee reportedly brought them onto a late-night call and pushed the idea that CryptoPunks could become the next Facebook. That doesn't prove MrBeast personally controlled every later transaction, but it does show he wasn't completely removed from the buying decisions or conversations around these investments. And then comes an even bigger controversy. Earn, a token connected to a charity auction involving Team C's, MrBeast's ocean cleanup initiative. The auction was reportedly supposed to run for 2 months, but according to Coffeezilla's allegations, roughly halfway through that period, a fund linked to MrBeast sold around $2 million worth of Earn. The token's price then dropped sharply, leaving some buyers sitting on brutal losses and raising an obvious question about what happened behind the scenes. The Earn situation looks especially messy because this wasn't just some random token floating around crypto Twitter. It was connected to a charity auction promoting Team C's, so some buyers could reasonably have believed they were supporting the ocean cleanup campaign while participating. According to Coffeezilla's allegations, a fund linked to MrBeast sold a huge amount of Earn during that same auction period. If that timeline is accurate, it's easy to see why critics thought the optics were brutal. Then there's another wild layer of irony. Team C's had Coca-Cola among its partners, while Coca-Cola has repeatedly appeared near the top of major global plastic pollution rankings. So you had an ocean cleanup campaign partnered with a company frequently criticized over plastic waste, while a token connected to the campaign was facing allegations of a major sell-off during the hype. That's a seriously awkward combination.
No one ever believes anything I say. So, I mean, because they're like, you're a billionaire. I'm like, that's net worth. I have negative money right now. I'm borrowing money. That's how little money I have. Technically, everyone watching this video has more money than me in their bank account if you subtract the equity value of my company, which doesn't buy me McDonald's in the morning or whatever.
And the crypto questions didn't stop there. Next came XCAD, a project built around creator-specific tokens connected to major internet names, including MrBeast and KSI. Investors were excited partly because of those huge creators and partly because of what the whole concept could become if it actually took off. Just the possibility that 2 of the platform's biggest creators might eventually launch their own tokens was enough to send serious money toward XCAD fast. According to Coffeezilla's allegations, a fund linked to MrBeast then began selling XCAD not long after launch, despite reported public commitments to hold for the long term. XCAD's founder reportedly even reached out directly, warning that continued selling could damage MrBeast's reputation. But based on the transaction history presented in the investigation, the selling allegedly continued anyway. Now put the 3 cases side by side: Super, Earn, and XCAD. Different projects, different timelines, but Coffeezilla argues they show a remarkably similar pattern. A major creator's name brings attention, interest pushes the project higher, and wallets allegedly connected to his investments sell while other buyers are still riding the hype. That doesn't automatically prove a coordinated pump-and-dump scheme, but seeing similar accusations across 3 separate projects makes the questions much harder to dismiss as simple coincidence. And that's what makes the allegations hit even harder. MrBeast is already one of the biggest creators on the planet. The controversy isn't about someone desperately chasing a quick payday. It's about why investments connected to someone with enormous reach and resources would repeatedly end up facing these kinds of accusations, especially after MrBeast has previously made headlines with comments about how much money he actually keeps. That broke image is a tough sell when you're talking about one of the biggest creators on the internet. MrBeast clearly has enormous reach and access to major business opportunities, so critics aren't looking at these allegations as the desperate moves of somebody simply trying to survive. The bigger concern is whether fans trusted his name enough to put real savings into projects connected to him, while investments linked to his side were allegedly being sold for major profits. If that's how the transactions played out, the power imbalance is hard to ignore, but credit where it's due. Coffeezilla doesn't present this as some perfectly clean story with one cartoon villain pulling every string. His investigation leaves room for other people, funds, managers, and crypto insiders to have played important roles in what happened. That's probably the fairest way to sum up the divide. If you already trust MrBeast, there are explanations available at almost every turn. Outside managers, investment funds, and other people allegedly making the actual trades. If you're already skeptical though, the 3 cases can look like the same troubling setup repeating itself. Massive creator influence helping generate attention while investments connected to his side reportedly cash out. But the bigger issue goes beyond who physically clicked the sell button. At MrBeast's level, his name alone can bring serious attention and money into a project. Fans aren't getting excited because they trust some anonymous fund manager they've never met. They're reacting to MrBeast, his reputation, and the credibility his involvement appears to give the project. That kind of influence comes with real responsibility.
If you love MrBeast, there will be an explanation at every turn and a scapegoat. But if you hate MrBeast, what I'm about to show you will seem unethical and like a clear abuse of fame for money.
Even if every trade was handled independently by professional managers, critics can still reasonably ask what safeguards existed, what MrBeast knew, and why clearer answers didn't come sooner. When your name can potentially move markets, disappearing from the conversation for months only makes those questions hit harder. A lot of this controversy could have been avoided with transparency from day one, or by simply staying clear of one of the internet's most volatile and loosely regulated markets. Instead, critics point to unanswered questions, a similar fund management explanation appearing across multiple controversies, and investors who bought into heavily promoted tokens only to watch their holdings lose massive amounts of value. So here's the question, guys. When Super, Earn, and XCAD are lined up and critics identify similar patterns across all three, are we really looking at repeated bad judgment by people managing MrBeast's investments? Or does the explanation, "it was my fund, not me," deserve much deeper scrutiny when his name and influence may have helped bring attention to these projects in the first place? That's the part viewers have to decide for themselves. Let me know where you land in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. It helps the channel more than you might think. And if you're new here, consider subscribing because we regularly dig into controversies exactly like this. I'll catch you in the next one.